Welcome to Inside Magazine. Well, the widespread boycotts against Israel are a threat that resonates today with more and more vigor. Well, behind this strategy is the BDS boycott, divestment and sanctions movement, largely promoted as a symbol of pro-Palestinian activists from the Islamist movement, the extreme left and the most radical right. Well, they use every means, often illegal, to delegitimize Israel and compare it to apartheid South Africa. Well, it's a movement whose real objectives are debatable, yet it's been mobilized around the world as activists call for academics, artists and industry to break any exchange with the State of Israel. Well, here's the report by Yves Azeroual and Jean-Paul Ney for I-24 News. Is it a non-violent movement to reach peace or to promote the hatred of Israel? Boycott, divestment and sanctions, or BDS. Behind those three letters is a whole world of organizations, European and American, who for years have led the campaign to officially condemn what they call the colonization policy of Israel. But who are these activists? What do they do? And what are the consequences for the State of Israel?
Israel should know we will attack all of its interests everywhere in France.
We'll decipher the phenomenon and the real motivations that are often hidden behind a well-refined communication strategy, raising suspicions mainly within Israel.
I call everybody to ban all products from Israel. I let my family and friends know about it. I solicit stores and supermarket managers. I reach out to stall holders in markets. I tell them not to buy those products in Rungi's wholesale market. If we stop buying products which grow on colonized lands, we'll stop keeping the system profitable.
The boycott movement spread in 2005, launched by a few Palestinian NGOs. It expanded to Europe and other places through highly committed activists.
About 10 years ago in London, protesters from the Muslim Students Association wanted to celebrate the anniversary of the Second Intifada. On the very same day, an organization called Stop the War Coalition wanted to protest in the same place, in the heart of London, against the imminent war in Iraq. Both actually found themselves protesting on the same day, so they decided to protest together. Eventually, they came up with the slogan, "No to the war in Iraq, free Palestine." That's how this union was created. This alliance, called the Red-Green Alliance, allowed BDS to be widespread in all spheres.
In France, for example, this movement has a network of around 40 pro-Palestinian associations focused on one platform, BDS France. They advocate 4 separate types of boycotts against industry, arts and culture, athletics, and Israeli academics. Their mission statement, available as fact sheets and Q&A pages on their websites, doesn't spare any detail. Any anti-Israel activist can gain material here and spread their message. They're making waves on the web by flooding social networks with videos of demonstrations. These actions are mainly protests, but have also devolved into organized raids on supermarkets as they try to promote the boycott of products from Israel.
These fruits are the result of the exploitation of Palestinian land stolen by the State of Israel and the exploitation of Palestinians themselves, who are forced to work under unbearable conditions in the settlements. To take part in this campaign, do not buy products from the Israeli apartheid.
It's clearly written, made in Israel. Products sold in Carrefour. Yes, shame on France. How shameful. Stolen territory, stolen lands. They steal water and lands from the Palestinians, and it's sold in Carrefour.
But how large is the movement? Judging by the amount of likes on their Facebook page, there could be only a few thousand who support this campaign. Judging by their actions, the hardcore element seems much more restrained. So how efficient are they?
From a cultural perspective, for every Vanessa Paradis counseling, 10 other performers do come, such as Elton John, who said he wouldn't give up on a concert in Israel for the world, and many more. She was threatened by BDS. I wouldn't say she refuses to come to Israel as a matter of ideology, but she rather give in to the sometimes violent threats. It really doesn't honor BDS.
When Another field under pressure from the BDS movement is science. This form of boycott is mostly in Britain and the United States.
Fund education! Occupation! Fund education! Occupation!
Recently, the American Studies Association, a union of university professors, wanted to make an impact. This organization, not previously known for its international involvement, proudly launched an academic boycott against Israel. But the association's unusually focused activity was quickly condemned by the most prominent American universities.
The organization requests a boycott. It says it won't collaborate with Israeli universities, but the members of this organization still can collaborate with their Israeli peers. So, de facto, absolutely nothing happens, just a big buzz, a headline in the New York Times.
Beyond creating a buzz, making headlines, and occupying social networks, no real economic or scientific impact has been made on Israel. Yet some individuals and companies have suffered the effects.
A lot of scientists told Israelis who applied for postdoctoral research, I saw on your resume that you served in the army. I don't want you as a researcher in my laboratory. Unfortunately, it happens a lot.
We're talking about companies which lost contracts, companies who got themselves in trouble with their board of directors abroad, companies which received letters from investors threatening them to withdraw their investments. There are all kinds of cases. We are facing an unprecedented step up, a ban of an Israeli company for its activity beyond the green line. It's true, I fear a snowball effect.
Today, the impact on the Israeli economy is non-existent. Yes, the propaganda circulates. Yes, we can access a lot of propagandist videos and messages from BDS. But it's more problematic regarding the image of Israel.
In order to best harm Israel's image, their communications strategy has been well polished. They plan to eventually alter the international perception of Israel. The BDS movement makes analogies between Israel and the worst regimes of the 20th century, such as apartheid South Africa, and in a special affront to the Jews, even Nazi Germany.
I mean, it's a great injustice. It's a huge genocide. It's an open-air prison. It's a concentration camp in Gaza.
Their main worry is not a pacific, equitable, fair solution between Israelis and Palestinians. Their main worry is above all to express hatred. What's the objective of this boycott? To criminalize Israel. Don't buy such or such product from Israel. You're giving money to a Nazi state.
Now Israel mainly fights an image war. The BDS is a campaign to convince public opinion of the illegitimacy of Israeli policy and the necessity to act against it. The complexity of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict makes it an especially easy one to misunderstand and enables the BDS movement to gain traction. And at least some senior officials in Israel have begun to worry about it.
We're at a communication war. For now, there is no doubt we're losing. If we lose, we have to pay the price. We can't separate Israel's image from its economy, and we can't separate Israel's image from the standard of living. So it's a national interest. What the Ministry of Foreign Affairs does is no less important for the nation's security than what the IDF does.
The first official response was set up by Zev Elkin as he established a public relations campaign to work against the boycott movement.
If you Google Brazil, you'll see beaches, you'll see beautiful girls, you'll see a sugar-coated reality. But if you travel to Brazil, you'll see the middle class going around with bodyguards. If you Google Israel, you'll see the conflict, you'll see soldiers, you'll see the army, you'll see Palestinians. But when you come to Tel Aviv, you can walk freely in the streets. So it's always a huge surprise.
Start with plain water, add bubbles, mix in the perfect flavor. Look, a soda that's better for you and all of us. Less sugar, less bottles.
For now, the government of Israel has found some allies. The highly publicized boycott against the Israeli company SodaStream and its endorsement deal with actress Scarlett Johansson failed to harm the company. And Johansson made headlines with her steadfast support for the company that employs hundreds of Palestinian workers.
SodaStream is a company that is not only committed to the environment, but to building a bridge to peace between Israel and Palestine, supporting neighbors working alongside each other, receiving equal pay, equal benefits, and equal rights.
These are some of the arguments often used by opponents of the boycott. We went to the West Bank, to one of the Israeli industrial parks located among the settlements, where nearly 30,000 Palestinians are employed. We spoke with these people who have the most to lose from the boycott movement.
There's nothing to do. It's a problem of territories. Let's leave it to the leaders, to Netanyahu, Abu Mazen, those who deal with this kind of things. The workers from your side and ours want to earn their living. They have a family, debts, many problems. The workers just want to do their jobs and feed their children. That's all the workers care about.
We also examined their work conditions, as accusations of exploitation, slavery, and apartheid are the headlines of the boycott activists.
I started here as a simple worker. Then I got promoted, and now I'm the head of the assembly line. Half of the workers here are Israelis, and the other half are Palestinians. We work together. We also have a canteen. We eat together at the same table, from the same plates. The products are handed by both Palestinians and Israelis. There are no problems. At the factory, we don't even wonder whether we work with Israelis or Palestinians.
However, in Paris and other places, many people are simply reluctant to reconsider their negative perceptions of Israel in this complex conflict.
Seriously, if the Europeans boycott us, if they label the products, I won't be able to sell in Europe. My factory will close or will become smaller and workers will have to go home, that's all. The Israelis will suffer from it as well, but they'll find a new job. The Palestinians will have a much harder time. The political debate about this territory should be left to Abu Mazen and Bibi Netanyahu. It's up to them to decide whether this territory remains Palestinian or Israeli, but they must not touch the industrial parks. They are the hope of both peoples, they are the hope of simple men, a true bridge for peace.
Now we're joined by Benjamin Pogrund in the studio. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Good evening.
So, based on your experience fighting apartheid in South Africa for many years, and your personal experience in that endeavor, what do you think of the parallels that are drawn between Israel and apartheid South Africa?
I think they're totally wrong, and I get very angry about it because in one way it debases the struggle and the suffering that so many people went through in South Africa. It's also a very deadly comparison, and there's a purpose to it, because the idea is to try and make Israel declared as illegitimate as was apartheid South Africa, and that would make us subject to international sanctions.
Strengthening the movement that they're pushing forward. Well, what do you think about the settlements, the Israeli settlements, being focused on by the BDS movement?
Well, we're giving a gift to the enemies of Israel, because I'm one of those who believe the settlement shouldn't be there. We should get out of the West Bank. We don't belong there, we're in occupation, and that leads us to do terrible things. So in one way, we provide our enemies with ammunition, because an occupation cannot be pleasant. We do ugly things, and this helps them. On the other hand, they don't just take the things that we do, but they distort them and they exaggerate them to our discredit all the time. But the basis of the attack comes from the settlements, and to me, get out of the West Bank, that'll remove a lot of the possibilities of attacking us.
With your knowledge of the BDS movement, what do you think are the true intentions?
Well, obviously anti-Semitism is a factor. That's why even when we withdraw from the West Bank, which I hope we will do, the attacks will go on, but they won't be at the level they are at the moment. But the true intention is seen in one of the aims of BDS, and that is the call for the right of return of Palestinian refugees. And that sounds very reasonable. But in fact, it's a code word, it's a code phrase for destroying Israel, because there is no ways that 5 to 7 million Palestinian refugees could come back here and we could retain the Jewish state, or the state for the Jews, whichever phrase you prefer. And that is the ultimate purpose, I have no doubt, about BDS. They don't want to reform us, they want to get rid of us.
Well, I understand you've recently finished a new book. Tell us about that.
Yes, that's been a hard slog. It's taken nearly 4 years. It's coming out in New York in the middle of the year. It's called Is Israel Apartheid? Reporting the Facts on Israel and South Africa. And what I've basically done is, I think is unique, is I've taken a lot of the criticisms of Israel and I've deconstructed them. And I've broken them down to examine them. And when you do that, all the lies, the falsehoods come through very, very clearly.
Well, thank you very much for bringing us your personal experience and insight on this topic here, Benjamin Pogrund.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us here tonight on Inside Magazine. We'll see you here next week at the same time.